Hello, my name's Jay. I am the assistant editor here at MOSH. This is what I hope will be the first of a series of audio reviews, a slightly different format that we're trying out. First one is A Dark Orbit's new album, Inverted. They're a band from St. Louis, Missouri. They comprise Chad Kappa on vocals, John Schreiber on guitars, Keith Riley on guitars, and Owen McKinley on drums. Sorry if I mispronounced anybody's name there. They're signed to Basic Records, and the album came out on the 27th of November. Their label mates at Basic include Chimps Banner, Devil Sold His Soul, Heights, and Sky Harbor, and they cite their influences as bands like Willhaven and Meshuggah, which comes across in their overall sound. Prose-wise, the album's very well produced. There's a lot of obvious talent between the band members. They're very tight. They play well as a unit, and there's a lot of ideas here. It's 15 tracks long, so there's an awful lot of ideas here. They're not afraid to try new things. Cons-wise, I'll give you a bit of a breakdown of the album because it's easier for me to say what's going wrong track by track. So, Weep to Water the Black Earth is the opener. Starts off with quite a manic pace. Kind of Bring Me the Horizon in its overall tones. They're locked in tight. There's a nice jagged groove, but then some awkward angular shifts. There's some hints of synth and gets into a more stable riff, a sort of handhold if you like, that is snatched away and into a messy blast beat ring breakdown. Surfacing starts off with an atonal grind. It's a little bit slower. There are far off vocal echoes and some creeping guitar. It's a little bit more subdued and therefore more effective, I feel. Some nice grunting bass starts off a little bit like Architects, mixed with technical death metal bands like Origin. The vocals by this point, Kappa is, he's a talented vocalist. He's got a nice tone. They are relentless all the way through the album. It's like bang, bang, bang. It's like talking through a film. You just want to listen and take in the surrounding noise and vibes, and you can't because his vocals are acting as a sort of forced focal point. Alter, the third track, starts off with quite an awkward staccato riff, and then it descends into a manic math metal spiral. There are some nice held vocal notes here, and it all gets a bit Whitechapel in the kind of breakdown. They're like a lighter Meshuggah experiment with tempo and rhythm, that kind of thing. Fourth track, They Rode the Heart Until It Spit Venom, kicks off like a bad video game soundtrack. Everything's sort of condensed down, and then it explodes into quite a lot of loud, the term loudness war that Metallica were criticised for on Death Magnetic. It's all very overproduced. Everything's very high in the mix. There's some strong kick drums, nice hidden groove. All gets very abrasive and violent, but it's unsure as to what they're trying to attempt overall with this one. Wavering's quite an uneasy riff. There's some brooding synth noise, and it all kicks off into a big commanding line. It's the most accessible riff here, the easiest to get into. Briefly become a normal band, and then they tumble down into a sub-thrash sort of hole, some very moody atmospherics, and then a big ridiculous breakdown. Haunted Error, a sense of bouncing energetic rhythm throughout. The vocals by this point are entirely overbearing. Like, I can appreciate when you use vocals as extra instrumentation, maybe a rhythmic device like Jens Kidman from Meshuggah would do, but this is taking it above and beyond that. There's darkly energetic track that descends into relentless mechanised riffs. Law of the Ocean, skipping ahead a couple of tracks, is noodly guitars that are whipped away on a riptide of drums. It's a chugging, constant riff, but things get a bit messy. Everything starts to overlap and mush together, becomes largely unlistenable. It's a very draining experience. The tension that's built up unwinds into soothing synths and ocean noise that acts as kind of a mid-album caesura. Skipping ahead again, Floating Intact has some hard pan left-right vocals and then some machine gun triplet notes that break down again, which is really dirty. Proper Skin, it's an atonal sort of a track. It's a really big drum presence. Everything sounds really huge, which is both good and bad because it starts to overwhelm other instrumentation in the mix. It's a slowly grinding groove that brings you onto Horrible Mud, which lives up to its title. It's a very muddy clash of riffs, quite a decent strong closeout. Multi-layered vocals break it up and make it a little less relentless in terms of the vocals delivery, and there's a keen sense of dynamic and drama which adds a lot of strength to this track. New Age Sinkhole is a slowly winding riff, largely instrumental. The instruments drawn on by layers. There's some really considered tom work and some tremolo guitars. The easier pace lends a lot of strength to this one. As I say, overall, cons wise, it just feels like it's too long. You kind of wish that the album was over a lot sooner than it is. The ideas that are in each track, strong as they may be, through repetition and sheer length, they seem to get a little bit eroded and exhausted, like they attempt to do too much. The production, too loud. Everything is too high in the mix. It all competes for your attention, and everything should be complementary. The instruments often sound muddy, and it's not really a noise album. They're touted as kind of a noise metal band, but like acts like Ken Mode or Slint, there's a bigger sort of dynamic range. There's soft and quiet and loud and overbearing, and the band don't really do that here. A Dark Orbit don't really have that kind of nous. They are like Will Haven, but a less focused Will Haven. Although the vocal attack is similar, it's just too much, and it's a very exhausting listen. You kind of you just feel like you've been through the ringer listening to this, which might have been what they intended, but it's not very accessible, so it's not one that I feel like I'll be returning to anytime soon. So maybe light 4 out of 10.